In this video, I'll be discussing 5 things that we have learned from the Premier League from the latest results, and let's not waste any time in getting into the first one, and that is about Crystal Palace. And the point to discuss around Crystal Palace is because they simply won a match this weekend, and it wasn't just anybody that they beat Manchester City. Now, I did a video very recently looking into Crystal Palace and how they've performed under Patrick Vieira, and their performances have been of a high standard, but the results just haven't been there. And in a couple of matches that they've played, they've also conceded late goals. However, against Man City, they didn't just beat them as well, they kept a clean sheet, and this was a really good performance by Palace. In all of their matches so far this season, this match was the one where Palace had the least touches of the ball, so it showed that they can play a little differently. It was also a match where Man City had 14 shots, and that is the same as Palace had against them in the matches against Brentford and West Ham. So it wasn't as if Palace had hardly any touches and let Man City have all the ball and have loads of shots. Palace didn't have many touches, but they defended well. And from that defence, they were able to counter very well with players such as Gallagher and Wilfried Zaha. Gallagher had 7 shot creating actions, that was the most for Palace. The most after him was Zaha, and he had 2. So what this really proves is that Gallagher was the hub of the attack for Crystal Palace. Everything went through him when they were transitioning from the defence into the attack. And while he was really effective in doing so, he got a goal and an assist in this match. So finally, a match where Crystal Palace were able to win, and of course it came with a little bit of luck, but that luck is what they haven't had in other matches. The second talking point is around Burnley, and in particular Maxwell Cornet, their new signing who has started really well in the Premier League. I did a video at the start of the season looking into Burnley and what would happen if they were more attacking. One of the reasons as to why I made that video was their new signing Maxwell Cornet and how he could affect the team positively. Well, so far this season he's taken 8 shots at goal and he scored 4 of them. So a really good conversion rate, of course, 50%. He's not even played a full 90 minutes in the Premier League for Burnley yet. For quite a few seasons really, we've seen Burnley rely on Chris Wood, Ashley Barnes, Jay Rodriguez, Vidra, on those strikers for their goals. However, something different needed to be added. And if you have seen some of his goals, especially one of them against Southampton and the latest one against Brentford, he's got the ability to score unexpected, ridiculously good goals. And doing that something which is unpredictable, unexpected, is exactly what Burnley needed to add to the team. But what they do get with him is a player who keeps that defensive structure in place, and this is sort of what I talked about in that previous video. The fact that Maxwell Cornet played at left back for Lyon, so they're adding a player who is really good in the attack, but he's used to playing in the defence as well. What this does show is that the recruitment at Burnley can be good, but they just need more of it. I do hope that Sean Dyche can get more signings like this. Point number 3 is about the English players Aaron Ramsdale and Conor Gallagher, who performed really well this weekend. Of course, we've already talked about Conor Gallagher. He's a player who's yet to get an England call-up, but I don't think he'll be too far away. Firstly though, on the goalkeepers, Southgate has continued to choose Jordan Pickford as his goalkeeper, and there has been competition throughout the years from other players, Nick Pope, Dean Henderson this summer, and now Aaron Ramsdale. Now, Ramsdale was actually at Euro 2020 after he replaced Dean Henderson when he got injured. So it's not like he's not been involved in the England squad. However, he hasn't really been involved since he signed for Arsenal, and I think that is a big move in terms of him getting into the England squad and potentially being the starting goalkeeper. The thing is with Pickford, you can watch him for Everton and maybe he won't be that fantastic. However, there's just something different about him when he gets into the England squad, and he can be really good and pull off some fantastic saves. But for sure, if Ramsdale can put in more performances like he did against Leicester, then he'll definitely be putting himself in contention for that starting spot. Outfield though, with Conor Gallagher, of course we just talked about him with the Crystal Palace win. He was really good in that match, but overall this season he has been fantastic. And it made me think in that match against Man City that Gallagher is really a Southgate type of player. He's well-rounded, he can defend well, he's been creative, and has now shown that he can time his runs well into the box where he can find space to score. I just see him as the kind of player that Southgate will love, in a similar mold to Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips, who started in the Euro 2020 matches. Now, whether he can take one of their spaces is hard and difficult to say, but I think he'll definitely get an England call-up soon, and like Ramsdale, he's putting himself in good contention for the World Cup squad this time next year. Point number 4 is about Arsenal and whether Mikel Arteta's side can really get into the top 4 this season. They've gone September and October unbeaten in the league, and this is really after they've gotten their squad together. Now, you can't get too carried away with their unbeaten streak. They just won 1-0 against Norwich and Burnley, and they only just got a draw against Crystal Palace with a last-minute equaliser. But at the same time, it does show that the players had the fight to get that equaliser, which they maybe wouldn't have got in previous seasons. For me, the signings of Tomiyasu and Lokonga are looking like two great defensive signings. In midfield, Partey and Lokonga have made for a good midfield duo, and at right back, well, Tomiyasu hasn't exactly been an attacking kind of fullback, and instead he's been more of a player who links the defence and the attack. He's averaging the most touches per 90 for Arsenal with 68, but only 13 of them per 90 are in the attacking third. What this proves is that he is having a massive influence on their performance, but in contrast to someone like Bellerin, who was really attacking, Tomiyasu does stay back a little more. So a lot better from Arsenal. Their first 11 is starting to look like a good team, however, can they keep it up in the long term, and that is what we need to see. The fifth point here is about Wolves, and in their 2-1 win against Everton on Monday, that means that they now jump to 7th in the league, and sort of out of nowhere they're in that position. They've really been able to rise up the Premier League table with the impact of their new signing Hwang Hee-chan and the return of Raul Jimenez. With 4 goals scored so far by Hwang and 2 goals and 2 assists for Raul Jimenez, it shows that they have made for a good partnership. And the reason why they have had such an impact on the team is due to other players like Traore and Trincao not being clinical at all. Together, they've had 33 shots with a combined total of 3.8 expected goals, and no goals have actually been scored by either of them. So what they've really done with Hwang and Jimenez is add some clinicalness, if that even is a word, but they've added that in these two players, and that's so important for Wolves. They are still conceding quite a few, with 5 goals conceded in the last 4 matches. They've been able to win 3 and draw 1 of those, but maybe they won't be as lucky going forward. Performances at the start of the season were good, but they just weren't being clinical, and now they are being a little bit more clinical. They have suddenly rose to 7th in the league. If you did enjoy this video, then please click the like button. It really does help the channel, and for more insight and analysis, subscribe to Route 1.